I'm here today with one of my favorite people in the world.
Thank you.
Josh Sabarra, who has this new book, Porn Again.
Yes.
You are not a porn star, though.
No. You know, I was a virgin until I was 31 years old.
Well, that's the big picture. That's the takeaway from this that we're going to get into.
Right. But I had to, in those 31 years, I needed something to keep me going. It wasn't that I had no sex drive or no interest in it. I just wasn't actively participating. Porn was sort of a lifeline for me because in a way it sort of gave me this outlet, and I probably would have been engaging in all kinds of dangerous behavior otherwise. So the porn and a bottle of Jergens did the trick.
Like how you had to fold the tissue when you were masturbating, and you had to scrub
ritualistic behavior. Yes.
After masturbating in the bathtub, you had to clean it 4 times.
Yes, I had this thing that, you know, I had this fear that, you know, would somebody find out that I was masturbating? So I had to, you know, take isopropyl alcohol, put it on a paper towel, rub every surface that could have been touched by semen. As it went on, I was like, you know, if I do it 4 times, it'll be really clean.
You were spending more time cleaning.
More time cleaning than enjoying the orgasm, absolutely.
We need to backtrack here because we need to explain that you are a Hollywood mover and shaker, producer, TV executive, PR person.
Yeah, PR and marketing has always been my thing.
You've been around. It's not like you were in some backwoods. You are a cute boy. You are a young twink. In Hollywood.
Am I a twink?
Well, you were. You're still young, boyish.
I feel like I'm a couple of chicken McNuggets away from being a twink, but
you're meeting people all the time, and yet you are a virgin until you're 31 years old. It's a little sad, sort of, I think, in a lot of ways. When you read the book is very funny. It's sharply written. It engages you from the first page, but there's a lot of self-esteem issues there.
Yeah. When you're being bullied for being gay, and you're 6 years old, or you're 7 years old, and people are saying these things, you don't even know what it really means. It's just this feeling that you have inside.
There's instances where you're sort of a hypersexual little kid, where you're dragging boys to the bathroom, you are playing doctor with boys and stuff. There was a very clear point where someone called you gay. It seems like that moment on was the beginning of the fact that you repressed everything inside of you.
Well, that's completely it, because what happens is you start to feel ashamed. I didn't want the people who I knew cared about me to know what other people thought of me, because I was afraid that then they would be ashamed of me as well. You know, as an adult looking back, it's easy to see that that wouldn't have been the case, but when you're in the mind of a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, you know, you don't know what the reaction's gonna be.
You were sort of a wunderkind in Hollywood. You came to LA sort of right out of the barrel from college. You climbed the ladder pretty quickly. You were doing a lot of stuff, and you sort of sublimated any sexual desire in your career.
Yeah, when you're that person who's out earning people your age or has a status that's higher than people your, it's very easy to do that sort of song and dance and that smoke and mirror routine that deflects people's attention and has them pay attention to other things about you than who you really are. I had eating problems because, you know, I would eat to make myself feel better. Then I felt like I didn't look good and that I was fat. And then I developed the plastic surgery addiction.
Problem.
Right.
You talk about your eating problems and you say that, you know, after being bullied all day at school, you would come home to your father, who is otherwise a wonderful man.
Right, and oblivious to what was happening.
Yeah, and he would say, you know, why are you having that piece of cake?
That was without any malice. I mean, you know, my parents just wanted me to be healthy and feel good about myself. They were trying to do the opposite.
But they were also enabling you, because when the plastic surgery problem came along, let's go through the checklist of what you had. You were in high school when you had
the first one. I just graduated from high school. It was the year between my senior year of high school and going to college, because my logic was nobody knew what the old Josh looked like. I had my stomach lipoed, I had my love handles lipoed, I had my chest recontoured, I've had my nose done, every injectable that you can think of under the sun, lasers that do things, you know. I say an addiction to surgery. It's not really an addiction to surgery. It's an addiction to the approval. It's the addiction to the positive feedback, to people saying, wow, you look great. In reality, I didn't look that much different. I was wearing clothes that I felt more comfortable in.
It's so weird because I've seen the pictures of you, like with Dolly and Sharon. Yeah. There's a couple in there where you are just the cutest thing I've seen in forever.
Well,
I can't believe that people were not hitting on you 24/7.
Well, we're gonna get your vision checked after this.
Why did that not translate into a sex life?
I think my biggest fear was that I am very close to my family, and I think my biggest fear was as much as as liberal as I know they are, I worried about how they would feel when it was in the family, and I worried about how it would impact the dynamic between me and my parents.
You lost your virginity at 31.
31, and I was with that man for 5 years.
And yeah, and it sounded like it was just a dreary, boring relationship.
Well,
God bless him.
He's a wonderful guy, kind, really good person, but when you're so romantically immature, I don't think you know that it's okay to want more than that. You know, I thought, okay, I'm 31, I'm ready to play house. So I was planning on just hitting fast forward, not realizing that in order to understand was at the end of the tape, you have to listen to what was on the first part.
When you're with the guy, you start having the threesomes with
about 3 years
the hustlers.
in. About 3 years in, I went to my therapist and I said, you know, it's funny because people hear it and it sounds so salacious, but it was really systematic. I went to my therapist and I said, look, I have this need to see what sex is like with other people. And she said to me, look, you're opening a Pandora's box. Talk to him about it, and if he's open to the idea of having a third person, it becomes a business transaction and there's no emotion behind it, then you know, maybe that's the way to go. We tried that a few times and it was very satisfying for me. But then I more and more started to realize that it wasn't really just the physical that I was looking for.
You wanted to have one-on-one with
I wanted to
people.
I wanted a connection that I was missing with him.
You didn't have a good time in bed until you were 36. You didn't understand what it was that sex
what all the
was
fuss
about.
was about.
What all the fuss was, and that was with
Alan Cumming.
Yeah, God bless Alan for showing you.
He's a wonderful person. He really is. He's such a great guy. Alan had always been my star crush ever since I saw him in Cabaret in 1998. There's something so sexy about him. He just sort of everything just oozes.
Yes.
And he totally delivers. And the reason I tell that story, and I know that, you know,
does he know that you're telling it?
I mean, if he's read the book. My point in telling that story is that I really went into a depression after that because I had experienced this fulfilling sexual thing with somebody who was glittery and appealing and sensitive and sweet, but that wasn't available to me. And what was available to me was this completely unfulfilling relationship that I had at home. And somehow I had to figure out how to let go of both of them and find something in the middle that worked for me.
Most people learn that earlier on than you did. Like
right, well I did at 36 what I should have been doing at 18.
18, 20, all that.
So, it was a delayed adolescence without question.
Are you still on a learning curve, do you think? Do you think you're still...
Look, I think everybody's a work in progress. I think whatever works for people is great, but you know, people who are searchers, I call them navel gazers, people who are constantly looking for the answer, what it is, it's like are sort of missing out on now. It doesn't all get figured out. There is no such thing. Being human is messy.
Yeah.
It's messy.
Now, your relationship with your mother is really, it's a little mind-blowing to me because, you know, for all the fear and anxiety that you had about how she would feel afterwards, now you talk to her 3 times a day. Mom, I'm getting a hustler, and I fell in love with my porn star.
Call me when you're done, sweetie. My parents are liberal Jews from the East Coast. They could not be more open-minded or accepting.
To the point where you take them to the pleasure chest, and they're buying you porn, arguing over whether you should get...
How expensive it was.
Yeah.
I stopped in to get some cards. I think the pleasure chest has the funny... Dawson's Crack.
Dawson's Crack and Scrotal Recall.
And I'm sitting there in the store and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy both of these. And my father comes around the corner and he grabs it. He's looking them over and he turns to the back and he says, these are $60 a piece. And I said, well, you know, they don't sell as many copies as they do of a mainstream film. So, you know, there's not 1 million units, there are 2,000 units. You know, using my industry knowledge to sort of,
explain,
you know,
the
tap dance around it.
Of porn.
So he told me I could choose one. As though I was in Toys R Us at 7, saying you can have a G.I. Joe or a Matchbox car.
You can have Scrotal Recall or Dawson's Crack. One or the other, but not
I went
both.
for Dawson's Crack, and it was worth it. We got in the car, and he harangued me the whole ride home, and he said, you know, how many times do you watch one of these DVDs? And I said, well, you know, if there are 5 scenes, I watch it twice. 10 times, and he said, well, that's $6 an orgasm. He's like, can't you just watch the same one again? And then we got home, and my dad fell asleep, and my mother handed me $60, and she said, honey, when we leave, you go back and buy Scrotal Recall. Talk about the ultimate in being accepted. Like, that is, sex is sort of still like the taboo between ourselves and our families and our parents, like things that we don't talk about conversationally.
Boundaries.
Also, my dad's a urologist, so remember, boundaries aren't the same in my house. Not only not being embarrassed by it, but being proud of me. You know, it just is the ultimate, after having been not myself for so many years, and then having them be so accepting of me on every level, to me was the message of that story.
I guess one of the main takeaways from the book is that it really is never too late. It's never too late for anything.
That is the entire message of the book. I don't care if you're 20, 40, 60, it is really never too late to step into yourself. I am living proof of that.
There is time wasted. We did, I've wasted a lot of time not doing the things not being the person I should be, and I wish that I could get some of that back, but you're saying it doesn't matter.
You know what? All you can do, you can't.
Yeah.
So the only thing you can do is keep going. I think, what they say is true. The worst thing you can do is not learn from the things that happened before. So I think you take it with you and you move on.
Born Again, it came out this week.
Came out just this week, yeah.
It came out this week. It's really funny. It's definitely eye-opening, and it's not a story that you've heard before. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And don't forget to subscribe to WOWPresents. Do you have a YouTube channel and want to be part of the WOW Presents network? Email us at youtube@worldofwonder.net.